Today let's talk about picks, also known as plectrums in the UK, that's how they say it, and maybe the rest of Europe, I'm not too sure. But picks, guitar picks, and when we're talking about picks today, we're not talking about finger picks, we're talking about just a straight up old style plectrum, old style pick, okay? Now, this would be true as far as finger picks as well when we're talking about the gauge. And when we say gauge, what we mean is the thickness of the pick, okay? But specifically, the word gauge is something that we'll use when we're talking about the thickness. And typically it's done in millimeters. Like this particular pick is 0.6 millimeters, or 0.6 millimeters. This one's 1.5 millimeters, so it's approximately twice as thick. So if you've ever seen a millimeter on a ruler, it's a very small little measurement, but one whole millimeter makes for a very thick pick. So what I've found is over the years as I'm teaching students, when they're working on their strumming, which we're just starting to get into this now, right? We're just starting to get into the strumming. What I find is that the pick that they're using has a lot to do with how it feels. So at first, when you're doing this, it's gonna feel a little bit awkward, especially if you have a thicker pick. This pick here is probably a 3 millimeters or 2.5 or something like that. It's a very thick pick. And what happens is the thicker the pick, the less it gives, okay? So whereas this pick has a lot of bend to it, these other picks don't bend hardly at all. They definitely aren't going to bend very much at all when you're strumming. Now, how would that affect you? Well, think about this for a moment. If you were brushing through your hair or combing through your hair and the bristles were very, very hard. Let's say the bristles were super thick and they were made of titanium, and you go to brush your hair with that. Well, they're not going to give whatsoever. So when you come across a knot, they're not going to give, and what it's going to do, it's either going to force you to push through that knot and it's going to tear your hair out, or it's going to break the knot, or it's going to just pull through it and your hair's going to be straight. Similarly, if you had, or on the opposite side of that, if you had a brush with really soft bristles, then what would happen is it would take care of your hair for the most part, but if you ran into a knot, it's not going to pull it out. It's just going to miss it, and then you're going to keep doing it, and eventually you'll be able to work it all out. Okay, so similarly, when we're talking about picks, our thinner picks, when we're strumming, they give. So when we hit the strings, they're actually bending, okay? And that's a good thing, because the thicker picks, what happens is when you go to hit the strings, especially in the beginning when your technique is not as good as it will be after playing for a bit, what happens is the pick feels like it wants to fall out of your hands. And in fact, if it hasn't already fallen out of your hands, then count yourself lucky, because the pick will fall out of your hands, especially when you're going to strum, if your pick is thicker, okay? So again, if you have a pick, look at it. If it says medium or thin or thinner or something like that, those are going to be good ones. I wouldn't, in the beginning when you're strumming, if you're strumming on an acoustic guitar, I wouldn't go any higher than a medium. In fact, if you can get a little bit thinner than that, that would be good. Typically like a 0.7 or 0.8 millimeters and below is what you're looking at, is going to be good. This is a 0.6, and for me, I think it's perfect. In fact, you may even want to look at probably more of like a 0.6, okay? You can even get thinner than that, a lot thinner than that. But in my opinion, this 0.6 is it's the perfect place to be at, because it just gives, and it's still nice and bright. What I found with the real thin picks, just like if you had a brush with very thin bristles, you'd sit there and you'd comb your hair and you're like, geez, I can't even get through these knots because it's just not doing the trick. It's not strong enough. So the pick can be too thin, and obviously it can be too thick. So this is a big deal. Make sure that this would be part of your homework, is to go to your local music store, check out their pick selections, and spend $5 or $10 or $20 on some picks. Picks you're going to use your whole career, your whole life. Don't be afraid of spending a little money on some picks, because think about it. If you were a painter and you had the one brush that came in the kit that you got with your canvas or whatever, or your easel, you might think, wow, this is what a pick is, or I'm sorry, this is what a paintbrush is, and that paintbrush may be terrible quality, maybe too thick, you know, the bristles may be too thick or too thin or what have you, and you just don't know unless you try these other picks. So get yourself a handful of different types of picks, one of everything, okay? Go out, get it, try it on the guitar, and you're gonna be amazed at the difference in feels, and you're gonna automatically gravitate to a couple different style picks for different things. So when I'm playing electric guitar, I don't like the pick to give at all because I'm typically doing more intricate single note picking, maybe arpeggiating or playing a solo and that sort of thing, or playing very fast, and I don't want the pick to give at all. So when the pick does give, it means that you have to do a little bit of extra work in regards to picking because the pick is giving, okay? So the more intricate and the longer that you've been playing, the thicker the pick you can use, and you'll naturally gravitate to that. You'll know what that is. Let it be comfortable for you. You can ask a million guitar players and they'll say what their opinion is, and this is a dangerous trap for a lot of folks because they always do this and they're chasing other people's opinions about things, when realistically what you need to do is have your own, come up with what it is that you like, and stick with that, okay? Then this is what makes us all individual guitar players. Get out, go get those bunch of picks, try this out. This is your homework. Try them out, especially with these strumming exercises that are coming up, and I promise you it's gonna make all the difference in the world. You're gonna say, I've had so many students write into me or my one-on-one students, they go, oh my gosh, I can't even believe the difference. So that one little thing between picking a thin pickup or a thick pick, it's gonna make all the difference in the world. All right, my friends, do the practice, and when you're done with that, let's keep going.